It is Thursday, October 23rd, and you are watching the SIG podcast, Trust the Process. Folks, if you've been watching our latest show, you would know what we're going to be talking about today. Snake did some digging, and we're going to talk about the proven optimal path to the NHL for Swedish forwards specifically, okay? There is a trend, and we're going to talk about it. We're also going to discuss Central Scouting's preliminary players to watch list. That's a mouthful. But essentially, it's not yet a ranking. It's more so players to watch, and they're graded from A to W, A being players who should come out in the first round. We're going to talk about maybe who's too high, who's missing, all that good stuff. After that, we're going to get, of course, to my favorite segment of the week, Snake's Hot Take. And especially today, our mailbag is going to be a little different. We're going to have two questions because you guys sent in too many good ones. So with that being said, this all starts right here, right now.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Trust the process. The sickest NHL prospect podcast with Snake and Shayne.
With the 5th overall selection in the 2024 NHL Draft, the Montreal Canadiens are proud to select Ivan Demidov.
It's gonna be sick.
Ooh, and he was on fire last night in overtime. Producer Shayne here, joined as always by my great co-host Simon the Snake Boisvert. Snake, how we doing?
Doing great. How about you?
Excellent. Maybe not as good, maybe much better actually than the Laval Rocket, who got pumped 6-2 yesterday in Belleville. And I think, Snake, we have to start the show by apologizing to Jacob Fowler. We seem to have this sort of reverse jinx going on. It started with Oliver Kapanen, who now cannot stop scoring after we said he would only be a bottom six player. And now last show we did, talked about a bit about Jacob Fowler, about how he was so good in the home opener and got a shutout and he looks sound, and let's in six. So Sorry, Jacob, it's our fault. We'll take the blame for it. Now, it's important to note, however, that the Laval Rockets defense was completely depleted. Yeah. Okay. David Reinbacher's not there. Mark Del Gaizo got called up. Toby Bisson got injured. So, he didn't have much help, but you know what? We'll take the blame for this one. It was our jinx. And from now on, Jacob Fowler is not good. Okay. He's not good.
Yeah, look, goalies are going to have a bad game here and there. And like you say, the defense core was decimated. So look, let's just turn the page. And like I say, when we evaluate players, we usually do it on a long-term basis on trust the process.
Yeah.
There's no, immediate take, on players based on a game or two. It's usually based on analyzing their past performances and trying to project them in the future.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just funny that, whenever we do these, it comes around. I mean, right away. It's like when we were at the Rocket game, Snake, we were talking about Meshar, all right? Mm-hmm. And you look at us, you say, I don't know, he hasn't really stood out tonight. 20 seconds later, he scores. We have this sort of reverse jinx going on. It's pretty funny. I know. Whatever. We'll keep rolling. We'll keep telling the truth, people. Okay, we'll keep spoiling the truth. Now, for the meat of the show, Snake, we're going to talk Swedish forwards here because this is a really interesting exercise that you did, and I'm really excited to hear the results. We're talking about which path to the NHL has proven to be optimal for specifically Swedish forwards, right? Is it staying in Sweden a bit longer? Is it going to the AHL beforehand? Is it going straight to the NHL? You've compiled data of current Swedish forwards that are producing at a high rate and which path they took to the NHL. So why don't you give us the results?
Yeah, because sometimes I wonder, is it the result of the path they're following, or it's just the fact that these players were highly talented? But my research was inspired by the very good performance of Philip Eriksson, a Habs prospect.
Mhm.
He was a 6th-round pick a couple of years ago. He's 21 years old. He's still playing in the Swedish league. He's performing well, point-wise. And I think there are fans who kind of see him as a dark horse, perhaps a wild card in the prospects pool. But I'm not trying to rain on the parade, but I'm just trying to be realistic about expectations when it comes to Swedish players, whether it be the Habs players or other Swedish forwards that are drafted elsewhere, because they seem to be scouts seem to be enamored with their potential. And in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round, very often they will take an obscure Swedish player over, let's say, a Canadian junior hockey player. And sometimes it's kind of weird to see, okay, why did this guy who shows some potential, who's been playing the North American style in Canada, is like overlooked in favor of a guy who was playing junior under 20 Division 2 in Sweden, and who basically got 10 points in 13 games. And I'm thinking, why? Why are these guys picked in the 6th round? So I said, okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are some hidden gems out there.
Mm-hmm.
So last year, 11 Swedish forwards scored more than 45 points in the NHL. There's about 160 something players who scored at least 45 points. So we're talking about an average of approximately 5 per team. So we're talking about impact players. If you're going to get 45 points plus, you're going to be an impact player in the NHL. So I could have gone up to 60 or 70, but I said, okay, let's go down to 45, because there are guys who don't get power play time or play on the second line, or they're young. And so 45 points to me was a good threshold. Now, here's the list. Jesper Bratt, William Nylander, Lucas Raymond, Adrian Kempe, Rickard Rakell, Mike Zibanejad, William Eklund, Elias Lindholm, Simon Holmstrom, Leo Carlson, Elias Pettersson. That's an interesting list. You can make a nice Olympic team with those guys.
Definitely.
Yeah. Very decent team. Very good team, I would say. Okay, what do they have in common? 10 of them came to America before the age of 20. Whether it be in junior hockey, whether it be the American Hockey League, or whether it be the National Hockey League.
Yeah.
The only exception is Elias Pettersson, but he arrived at age 20. So what does that tell you? How many forwards still playing in Sweden at the age of 21 or 22 or 23 scored 45 points when they arrived in the NHL, or at some point, during their career, let's say last year? 0. Then 10 of these guys were 1st-round picks.
Yeah.
The only exception, Jesper Bratt,
Yeah.
round pick. But guess what? Jesper Bratt came to the New Devils at age 19. He did not stay in Sweden. So now, is it because these guys are so highly talented that they're going to be induced to jump right away to North America by the team that drafts them? Perhaps. But my goal is not to decide between the chicken and the egg. My goal is to show that if your team, your favorite team, whichever it is, has a Swedish forward prospect who's still playing in Sweden at 21, and you're all in love with the Twitter highlights, chances are he's not going to be a 45-point scorer in the NHL, especially if he's a late-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's all nice to dream about prospects. I love watching prospects. I can watch hundreds of guys a year, but I'm very realistic about the fact that even some guys that I like will not.
That's normal.
It's
yeah.
normal. So that was pretty much the meat of the conversation in terms of tempering expectations with prospects. You know what? Another time, I'll do the same thing with Finnish prospects. I'll do the same thing with Russian prospects. Because I think they're a little bit different. I think Sweden and Finland, it's pretty much the same. But the KHL is a different story. It's a different animal for various reasons. So I think with the KHL, you cannot apply this. I mean, Alex Zorovsky could stay 3 more years in the KHL. He'd be playing at 21. I wouldn't be worried. Kaprizov only came to America at 23 because, he was under contract. And like I say, it's a different ballgame over there. But Swedish and Finnish players, what prevents them from coming here early on? But they stay. And they stay. And it's fine. It's their choice. But then I'm wondering, maybe the team doesn't have a roster spot for them. Remember that a lot of Swedish players have in their contract that they cannot go to the AHL. They have to go back to Sweden. Remember Oliver Kapanen last year?
True.
Went back to Sweden. I'm not sure it was the Canadiens' choice. I'm not sure. I think they probably would have preferred him to be in Laval.
Of course.
So that's pretty much it. They don't come and play junior hockey here. The majority don't. Gabriel Landeskog did. I think Zibanejad did. I think Rickard Rakell did. But there are very few Swedish players because I'm involved with the European draft in junior hockey. I've been involved in this for many, many years. And it's very hard to get them to come over. They love being there. They love the SHL or whatever league, second division league. And there's no real, they're not really attracted to coming to play in North America, especially the top ones.
Yeah.
So it's too bad because I think what I think there would be more impact players in Sweden, from Sweden, maybe not. But I know that analysts are really, they like the Swedish model. They love the Swedish model because, they're that type of player and is so and so and so and so. But are there that many? Are there that many players? A lot of people poo-poo on the Canadian Hockey League. Too many games. Seasons are too long. They don't practice enough. Blah blah blah. In Sweden, why do we have like a Lucas Raymond and a William Nylander and blah blah blah? And okay, that's a minor hockey thing. I don't think it's an SHL thing. It's a minor hockey thing, perhaps, because the guys I just told you about, they came to America at the age of 17, 18, or 19. So it was more of a minor league thing, not a CHL problem. So I think we're being very hard on Canadian hockey, and I know there's less and less players from Canada. This is not the 1970s or the 80s before. I like the fact that we get the best in the world in the NHL. Just like I would love soccer to have only one league, one worldwide league, basically. Instead of the Premier League and that league in Italy and France, and it would be good. The NHL is where probably that 98% of the top players in the world play right now.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that there's players from every country where it's possible to play hockey, basically. And more countries are playing hockey, and maybe at some point there will be more, I don't know, Hungarian players or Japanese players, who knows? But the point is, when I just think that there's a little bit of when teams gamble, throw darts on prospects, I think there's a little bit too much emphasis on a country like Sweden, especially in later rounds. And I know because they only have the rights to the junior players for 2 years, whereas if you draft a Swedish player, you have the rights for 4 years. But I think after 2 years, when the guy turns 20, you have a pretty good idea where this is going and whether you should sign him or not. But I also think, just to conclude on this, that the Canadian junior players are easier to evaluate vis-a-vis the NHL potential.
Same style. Yeah.
Same style. So it's easier to say at the age of 17, I don't think this guy is going to make it, than watching a Swedish player who plays a totally different game, but you see the skill set and you're thinking, okay, let's give him a few more years. We have 4 years. Maybe at age 20, 21, we'll bring him to America, see what happens. Whereas the junior player, it's like, okay, he won't make it.
Yeah.
I've heard this a lot in arenas. And you know what? Scouts are not necessarily wrong about that. Where they are probably a little bit too excitable is when it comes to Swedish prospects in later rounds, and which usually don't become impact players, especially forwards.
Snake, I think it's important to highlight that the point of this exercise is to identify impact players.
Yes.
We're not outright saying that Philip Eriksson, to single him out because he's the prime example here. We're not saying that he's never going to be an NHL player. He could very well play NHL games, but will he become an impact forward? That's what we're trying to identify, because right now people are seeing him put up well over a point per game in the SHL. We're like, wow. I mean, this is a tough league, not a high scoring league. Over a point per game, this guy's going to be an NHL star.
Yeah.
The odds of that happening, as Snake just alluded to, currently are 0%. 0%.
Well, look at Jacob Delarose, who had a brief career in the NHL. Look, the guy at best would have been a 15, 20-point player. So that doesn't count. Even if he had a 10-year career, scoring 20 points, to me, that doesn't count.
No, not an impact player.
Because these players you can find anywhere. So 45 points, I think, was a good threshold. I wasn't too demanding. I wasn't talking about 70 points. I was talking about 45 points.
Exactly.
And that's what I came up with. First round picks, number 1 and number 2 came to America before the age of 20.
Case in point. Man, that name just gave me PTSD. Jacob Delarose. Ooh. Haven't heard that one in a while. Anyways. I think this is a really interesting exercise, and I am really looking forward to hearing about the KHL, like Russian players. That's really interesting because they're incredibly unpredictable. You take Kaprizov, for example, who stayed there until he was, like you said, 23, and now he's the highest paid player in the NHL. You know what I mean? So there's social political factors going on. There's also
Artemi Panarin.
Oh my God, yeah. So
Panarin,
yeah, we could have a great discussion on that.
Yeah,
right?
that's going to be fun, talking about Russian. Totally different animal.
Keep tabs on the show, folks. You might want to subscribe and turn on the notification bell when we release that episode. But that was really interesting, Snake, and credit to you for doing the work. That's I think, on this show, we deal in facts, we deal in statistics, right? We deal in absolutes. We don't deal in if, ands, or buts. All right. So it's pretty clear cut that, right now, the current, and anything's possible. Yeah. We love surprises here. We love when that happens. But right now, at this very moment, the path to becoming an impact NHL forward from Sweden, it's pretty clear. So we'll leave it at that. Snake, moving on now to some draft talk. Okay. The season just started, but it's never too early to talk draft, and especially the 2026 draft, which is shaping up to be a really fun one. And the NHL Central Scouting released their preliminary players to watch list. Like I mentioned in the intro there, it's not a ranking, but sort of is, right? Because they didn't outright say 1, 2, 3, 4, but they tiered the players in tier A, B, C, and whatnot in terms of where they project the players to come out in the draft. So let's take a look at the first, slate of players. I don't think I'll name them all, but the highlights here, obviously Gavin McKenna, Ryan Lynn, really good defenseman there. Ethan Belchetz was the first overall pick in the OHL draft, right? In the second slide there, we'll see there's Keaton Verhoff, there's Xavier Villeneuve, Ryan Rubrek, I know you really like, so do I. Mathis Preston, The names that we've been accustomed to, we've been hearing for a few months now, are all in the A tier. Snake, is there any names that stand out to you in being too high, or maybe that names that are missing that you think should be in the A tier?
Look, I think right now it's very, very early to start grading players, or even having rankings. I don't have rankings yet. I have players that I think are going to be rated higher than others, but it's very hard to say between an A and a B who should be there, who shouldn't be there. But what I plan on doing this winter is going to see as many as I can in person, and it's starting this weekend. I'm going to be in Potsdam, New York, Clarkston University. North Dakota is playing 2 games this weekend. Friday at night, I'm going to be in Section 6. Saturday night, I'm going to be in Section 24, a couple of hours away from Montreal. So those who want to come, I know that some people are coming. I saw some comments on the social media. So if you guys want to come and talk between periods, always fun to meet passionate hockey fans, talk about the draft. Now, why am I going to see North Dakota is because of Keaton Verhoff, who right now is probably seen as the second or third best player in the draft. And I know Gavin McKenna will probably stay at number 1 and will go number 1. But it's interesting to watch his evolution so far. I'm not saying he hasn't been good. I'm not saying he has been underwhelming. But let's just say he hasn't been dominant. And he kind of shies away from physical contact. The guys are older than in the WHL. So I'm on a wait and see mode to see how good he's going to be. I loved him a lot when he was 15, 16. And then last year I saw him in person at the Memorial Cup. I liked him a lot, but I had to withdraw his name from the pool of players who could be compared to Connor McDavid.
Right. Yeah.
Because remember, he was at first. And I even said 3 years ago, this guy's going to be way better than his cousin Connor Bedard. We'll see. Perhaps he will. I'm rooting for him because I've been following him for years. But I'm just a little bit concerned about how great he's going to be. Because it's a big jump to college hockey, but the guy still had a lot of junior hockey experience, and he's a late birthday. He's turning 18 in December. So it's not like Macklin Celebrini, who was a summer birthday and played his entire NCAA season at age 17. Same with Keaton Verhoff. Let me look at his birthday here. Keaton Verhoff is born on June 19th, 2008. So he's playing his entire season at age 17. He's going to turn 18 a week before the draft. Amongst the other names that I want to mention, I know a lot of people getting very excited about JP Hurlburt. He's a scoring machine right now in Kamloops. He's an American player who was playing for the national program last year, but decided to leave the national program and come and play in the WHL, which is good news considering that so many Canadian players went south. But there are mixed reviews about this Hurlburt guy. Some people see him as a top 10 talent, and some others say he's just going to be a third tier, first round pick. So far, hard for me to, like I say, give a ranking, but that's going to be someone I'm looking forward to seeing. In Quebec, obviously, Xavier Villeneuve, called the Quebecois Lane Hudson.
Yeah.
I mean, he
obviously
models his game after Hudson's games. He's highly skilled, and for whoever goes to see Blainville-Boisbriand this year, they're going to recognize some Hudson moves. He's 5'11" right now.
Still growing.
He's still growing because I think his father is 6'1" or something. I don't know if you heard the same stories.
Yeah.
So he's still growing. So that could be an interesting pick. This guy could be a steal because if teams draft him based on his physique right now, They might shy away from a top 10 selection, but he could end up being a top 10 player at some point when we do a redraft in a few years.
Yep.
So he's playing for a very strong team. Of course, it helps, but he's been showing for 3 years how talented he is. And I do think right now that I don't know where I'm going to rank him, but it could be top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Another small defenseman that a lot of scouts are very impressed with, Ryan Lynn, who plays in Vancouver, 5'11" defenseman, very good offensively. So I think defensemen under 6 feet are getting the attention of scouts now. Probably because of Hudson's success, because they're thinking if such a small guy can do it, maybe a lot can do it. But the difference
Quinn Hughes as well.
Pardon me?
Quinn Hughes as well.
Quinn Hughes as well. But Quinn Hughes, that's years ago. Mm-hmm. But Hudson was so tiny that to a lot of people, including myself, big time, I said, okay, this guy's going to get clobbered in the NHL. Yeah. But I think the difference between Hudson and the other guys who are like 5'9", 5'10", is that he's very elusive. And not every 5'10", 5'11" offensive defenseman is Lane Hudson. You can be a good puck mover. You can be a good power play performer.
Yeah.
But once you reach the next level, are you going to be able to avoid all these checks, all these crazy guys going after you on the ice? So let's not take one exception and try and make it a rule right now, although these guys should not be overlooked. But let's try and project them in the NHL if their game can translate well. So that's something to see. Another guy I want to talk about, Ethan Belchet's, probably a top 5 pick. Plays for Windsor. He's 6'5", 228. Reminds some people of Eric Lindros for older folks, who have seen this guy play. The thing with Belchet, you always wonder, is he dominant because he's big, or he's simply a great player who happens to be big? We've seen this with Porter Martone last year. So let's see what happens with Belchet. I'm going to go see him play this year. And this is a power forward who's probably going to be very, very popular at the draft.
Yeah.
And speaking of Sweden, Ivar Stenberg. Right now, I've seen some draft analysts ranking him second overall. He's a late birthday, born in September 2007, so he missed this year's draft by 2 weeks. He's highly skilled, plays for Frölunda in the SHL. I would love to see this guy in a North American tournament. Hopefully he'll be at the World Junior Championships in December. I want to see him in the North American context. He is highly skilled. Not sure he deserves to be top 2, top 3 for now, but we'll see. And Verhoff, like I said, I'm going to go see this weekend. So that's just a little overview of the list right now. Very, this is all going to change. Like there was a guy that I liked a lot who's rated B, Blake Zielinski. He played in the USHL. And before the beginning of the year, I had him top 10. Now, since the season started, not sure anymore. So it's going to fluctuate so much. So we'll have plenty of opportunities to come back to this throughout the year, because that's what the show's about. 2026 draft is an important element of our show.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. We're going to start doing, prospects of the week and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Once we get a big enough sample size and, the players get in a groove. And right now it's still a bit too early. But Snake, one player, if you don't mind, that I'm really curious about is Maddox Dagenet, first overall pick of the Q, right? And we saw Caleb Desnoyers the year before, right? He was the first overall pick, got picked 4th overall in the NHL. Off to, decent start, 9 points in 11 games, but this is a 6'4" center, very attractive profile. He's ranked in the B tier right now. Do you think he could crawl his way up to A?
You were cut off. I missed the name.
Maddox Dagenet.
Yeah, Maddox Dagenet. Yeah, from the Quebec Ramparts. Yeah. Yeah, the guy was the number one pick overall in the queue a couple of years ago. Well, in 2024, I think what doesn't help Dagenet right now is that he doesn't play for a very strong team. I mean, the Ramparts won the Memorial Cup a couple of years ago, so they're going through a rebuild.
Yeah.
Again, it's hard to tell. I mean, B rankings could mean like 32nd, could mean 50th overall. I think if he produces more in terms of points, he could climb up. Otherwise, he probably would be a second round pick, my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that's another guy we'll keep tabs on, right? We know the upside is there. He was picked first overall in the queue for a reason. And the profile, like I said, is very attractive. So
he showed good flashes last year, actually, before he had to miss time.
And I know that in the QMJHL, I guess, prospect game, if you will, they had he and Xavier Villeneuve were the standouts. So I heard.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I think that the prospect game was good. Every NHL scout was there. Chief scout was there at the game. Mm-hmm. I think it's good. It's a showcase that is different from what we've seen before, because before it was CHL. It was 40 players from the CHL. Now you get 40 players from the Q. I mean, will all of them be drafted? Probably not. But at least they had an opportunity to showcase themselves. And maybe scouts, from what they saw on Tuesday, will actually attend regular season games of these guys and maybe pay more attention. Because remember, these prospects games, players are not used to playing together. So what you see is individual skills.
Yeah.
But they don't have the same line mates, and sometimes they even play against their own teammates.
Yeah, that's it.
So it's almost like a scrimmage, but yeah, it's still a good showcase. People remember showcases because I remember that the CHL prospects games, whenever some guy stood out, come draft time, he would probably be drafted higher than he would have been had he not been so good at that prospects game. Mm-hmm. Because look, scouts get views on every player. But still, it's tempting, when you watch all the best together, to compare them because they're on the same ice surface. So we'll see what happens. But it was good of the Q to organize this event the other night.
Absolutely. No, as many best on bests, those are always a good thing. Snake, before we move on, of course, we got to give a big thank you to our partners who make this show possible. And I want to start by thanking Cheapest T-Shirts. Folks, it's simple. If you're looking for the cheapest prices on wholesale apparel in Canada, you will find them at cheapesttshirts.ca. Proudly Canadian, okay, and trusted by thousands of customers from coast to coast. They deliver unbeatable value every day. You'll always get the cheapest prices plus same-day shipping and even next-day delivery, so your order arrives fast. They have over 1,000 products and more than 36 trusted brands like Gildan, Jerseys, American Apparel, M&O, and Comfort Colors. The selection is unmatched. Plus, enjoy free shipping on larger orders and a simple, easy-to-use website that makes online ordering a breeze. Get the cheapest deals in Canada today at cheapesttshirts.ca. And don't select a bust with Betway and get a deposit matchup bonus up to $300 on your first deposit. Okay, click on the link in the details section to create an account and redeem your welcome offer. The offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. The offer is not available in Ontario. You must be 18 years or older, and please play responsibly. It is time for my favorite segment of the week. Let's go to Snake's Hot Take. I always look forward to this one, Snake. What do you got cooking for us this week?
Well, I've been a huge fan of Cale Makar since his draft year.
Yeah. Hard not to.
And I remember the night of the draft. First of all, I had him ranked number 1 in 2017. And I also did tweet that the Colorado Avalanche had just drafted a future Norris Trophy winner. So, that was one of my good ones, I would say, because he was ranked 4th overall. Again, he was not a big guy, and he was playing in the Alberta Junior Hockey League.
Yeah.
Which is considered pretty weak, compared to Canadian junior hockey, because he was going to go to college, went to college for 2 years, and then he arrived a couple of years later in the playoffs for the Avalanche against Calgary, played well. So obviously, he's my second favorite player right now after Connor McDavid. But, here's the but. I also liked Matthew Schaefer last year. In September, I ranked him number 1. Very, very early. And then in my book, he went wire to wire. At some point, other draft analysts starting to rank him number 1. He went number 1. And my expectation for his career were very high. Yeah. Although I didn't have him in my top 3 for the Calder Trophy, because I said, look, an 18-year-old defenseman who basically didn't play last year, I think they're going to keep him. They're going to bring him along slowly. And who knows, maybe he'll score 30 points, 25, 30 points. But then next year he'll take off. Well, that's not what happened. I watched every one of his games. It's absolutely amazing how this guy's doing. We all knew he was a great skater, but what I like is his voice. The guy's 18. He's the Islanders' best player right now with Matthew Barzal, I would say. Yeah. And he goes end to end, doesn't shy away from doing all this. Retreats back to his zone. He's made mistakes, but in general, I think he's doing well defensively. He has a good stick, and his skating is so effortless. But it's the fact that if he does that at 18, and I know it's a small sample, but look, this is not luck. This is not a guy who will score 5-6 goals because he had a lot of rebounds or deep shots no. This is a guy who's the real deal.
Yeah.
So my take of the week is that I think when it's all said and done, he will have a better career than Cale Makar.
Whoa!
Yeah. And that's a lot to expect from a guy.
Oh my God,
because Cale Makar is incredible. He could win more Norris trophies.
He probably will.
Yeah, he probably will before Schaefer even wins one.
Yeah.
So it's a long-term hot take, obviously. I mean, results cannot be judged after a year or 2 or 3. It's probably in 10, 15 years that we'll know. But I think he will have a better career than Cale Makar. And right now he's my 3rd favorite player, I would say. But probably climbing up to number 1 very soon. Because I love offensive defensemen who carry the puck. And a lot of them, they become the fourth forward, which is not always good. Older folks will remember Paul Coffey. Paul Coffey has all kinds. Go to HockeyDB, check out Paul Coffey. I mean, the guy has had 100-point seasons as a defenseman. But the problem with Paul Coffey is that he was really a fourth forward. He did not want to defend. He did not care about playing defense. He was just taking the puck, carrying it down because of his smooth skating. I think Schaefer is like Coffey, smooth skater. And I think Schaefer is going to be closer to Scott Niedermayer, who was also very responsible defensively. But I think he'll be more productive than Scott Niedermayer. I'm comparing guys with the same type of skating. But right now, the standard is Cale Makar. And I think I think overall he's going to have a better career. He's 10 years younger. So it'll come gradually as Makar ages. But I'm just like in love. And like I told you the other day, I never followed the Islanders over the last 40 years.
Why would you?
Now to me, it's must-see TV.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, I'm on the same boat as you, Snake. I absolutely adore this player. Yeah. I mean, from the person to the hockey player himself, everything about Matthew Schaefer is like, how can you not adore this guy? You just want him to succeed. And so far, he's done that. I mean, like I said before, right, on this show, we deal in absolutes. We deal in facts. The fact of the matter is, the last 18-year-old, actually, The 18-year-old defenseman who had the most points in his first NHL season was Rasmus Dahlin with 44. So that's why we think like, okay, it's probably not going to get that many points, you would think.
Mm-hmm.
He's a point per game.
Yeah. I don't know if he's going to maintain that pace, but there was another Buffalo defenseman in the 80s who had lots of points at age 18. I think his name is Phil Housley. He's a coach today or assistant coach. Phil Housley.
Yeah, I might
check it out in the 80s.
I think I misspoke there. Maybe it's more like recent defenseman, because back in the day they were putting up numbers, but
exactly because I think the toll for rookie is like 76. Larry Murphy, you remember we're talking about Lane Hudson perhaps getting to 76, but look, it was different times.
I misspoke there. You're right. It's more like a recent. I don't know.
But a recent 18-year-old defenseman, it's Rasmus Dahlin.
Yeah.
Let's keep the show modern, because stats from 40, 45 years ago, it's fun to look at them, but you can compare, because I think there was an average of 7 or 8 goals per game scored.
Yeah.
Now, what is the average? Between 5 and 6, I think.
Pretty much.
So that's a difference of 2 goals per game. So we always talk about Wayne Gretzky's 215 points or so. This would probably more be like 140 today. So that's Connor McDavid territory for a couple of years that he was able to match that point total. Exactly. So you see, and maybe Connor McDavid in the 80s would have scored 250, 300 points because
easily.
So let's not compare, Gretzky era with McDavid era, but it's fun to see these numbers, to see how hockey evolved. And I don't know if Schaefer is going to keep that pace, but if he had like 60 points, that would be fantastic. And he's the Calder Trophy favorite right now after 2
easily.
Weeks. Yeah, that could change. Injuries, Demidov getting more ice time. Demidov is still Demidov. I mean, let's not forget that Demidov is going to be a great player, and I think he's going to have a very good season. And so far, he's been good. But I think he just needs better line mates and more ice time. And then he could score maybe 60, 70 points. We'll see.
Yeah. But I mean, back to Schaefer, I think you hit the nail on the head there when you said that, what impresses you the most is the way he carries the puck, his poise, right? Let's remember, this is an 18-year-old playing against grown men who have been in the NHL for years, and he's just doing whatever he wants. Yeah. I mean, it's remarkable, really, and when you put it in context. And listen, the Islanders are not a great team. No. Let's be honest, they're not that good, and I think we might have overestimated their defense because we thought that he'd be sheltered and kind of in a third pairing role maybe. He's by far their best defenseman. It's not even close. Well, he already supplanted Tony DeAngelo on the power play, which I think we all kind of expected at some point because it's Tony DeAngelo, right? We're not talking about Lane Hudson, Cale Makar here, but no, Matthew Schaefer is just phenomenal, and I love what he's doing. Can't wait to see him, grow and become that superstar defenseman. I'm a big Cale Makar guy, so I can't really jump on your hot take just yet. But if it did happen, I would not be surprised at all.
Look, one last thing about Schaefer. I did something recently. You know how I watch players very often, like on a shift-by-shift basis? So sometimes it's good because it saves time, but at the same time, you don't see the whole game. You don't see the context because you only see your player that you're watching. So what I did recently, I watch only Schaefer's shifts, and then I watch the rest of the game without Schaefer. 2 different games.
Of course.
The Islanders look so great when he's on the ice. And you're thinking, because very often he has a very good partner, very well suited for him, Scott Mayfield.
Yeah.
And Barzal plays with him quite a bit. So you watch the Islanders when he's on the ice and you're thinking, wow, how come the Islanders lost, let's say, 4-3? Then you watch the rest of the game, the other 35, 40 minutes without Schaefer. I'm like, okay, this is a different hockey game. This is a different hockey team. So that was interesting. That was an interesting exercise that I did because whenever I only watched Schaefer shifts, I was wondering why the Islanders were not like 6-0.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
It's remarkable stuff. Snake, before we move on, I got one more question or rebuttal, however you want to phrase it here. Yeah. Talking about Cale Makar specifically, right? He is phenomenal, but he's also really well surrounded. Talking about Nathan MacKinnon, who's arguably the second best player in the world, right? Mikko Rantanen for a few years there. Gabe Landeskog, his D partners, Devin Taves. It's like he's got a great supporting cast, if you want to call it that. Matthew Schaefer's dealing right now. It's Matthew Barzal. Okay, pretty good. Bo Horvat. He's got nothing really. And then, sure, Cole Eiserman's coming along. He's going to be good. Eklund.
Victor Eklund. Yeah, Victor Eklund. I like Victor Eklund.
It doesn't compare. So do you think maybe he could, I guess, suffer from that in comparison to Makar?
I think he'll make them better.
Interesting. I like that.
And if he doesn't, it means that he's not that great.
Okay.
Because superstar defensemen, offensive defense, usually make their teammates better. So did Makar help? The Rantanens and the McKinnons, and look, it's the chicken and the egg. But McKinnon was there before. But remember, the first few years before Makar arrived, he was young, but McKinnon was not the superstar that he is now. But I don't think it's related. I think McKinnon would have been fine without. He would have been great without Makar.
Yeah,
I understand your question, but also rosters change. So in 5-6 years, who will be playing for the Islanders? If Darsh makes a couple of good trades and they do good drafting, it'll probably be a team that will be very different from the one we see on the ice. Because remember, this is not a young team, especially on defense. All these guys, they have these 4, 5, 6 year contracts, or 4, 5, 6 years left on their contract. At some point in 5, 6 years, they're going to be gone. It's going to be a new bunch of players playing with Schaefer. So we don't know. So no, but I don't think he's going to be hurt by that fact. But could he win the cup with the roster that they have right now, as good as he is? I don't think so.
No chance.
No chance.
Okay. Well, that was a great hot take. I love this discussion, and I love Matthew Schaefer. How can you not? This guy is electric. Now it is time to go dig it in the mailbag. As I mentioned previously, we got 2 questions to cover today because you couldn't choose. There's too many good ones. So, first one here, coming from Max, asking, hey, Snake, if you could make a single NHL draft combining all players from 2015 to 2025, who would be your top 10 picks in order? So now what I'm assuming Max is trying to ask is, when these players were prospects, right? Draft eligible prospects, who in the last 10 years would you rank top 10 today?
Yeah, I did the exercise based on how I evaluated these players at the time when they were drafted, because today we have a lot more information about the 2015 draftees than we do about the 2025 draftees.
Exactly.
So you can't really compare, Jack Eichel with Matthew Schaefer. Precisely. One has a 10-year body of work, and the other one has 8 games or 7 games. So what I did is that I went back to my rankings, my evaluations, and some of them I think were pretty good or will end up being pretty good. Some of them were like very, very questionable. You will see. And that'll make some people laugh today. But look, that's what it is. That's what the exercise is about.
Of course.
I'm trying to be as, honest and objective as possible. Now, number 1 is McDavid.
Easy.
So I thought he was going to become the greatest player of all time. Maybe he will.
On track to do that.
Yeah. Number 2 was Makar. I was
Ooh.
absolutely enamored with Makar. I just mentioned, had him ranked number 1, Norris Trophy, blah, blah, blah. Number 3, Macklin Celebrini. Again, I had seen this guy live at Boston University, and I was thinking, wow, what a player he's going to be. We'll see what happens. Not a very good team right now, the Sharks. But I had him number 3. Number 4, I had Matthew Schaefer. Because I love this skating and what we just discussed that I had seen in the last couple of years. So number 4, Matthew Schaefer. So why do I have Makar ahead of Schaefer? And I'm making that prediction. Well, it's just because, that's how I saw the players at the time they were drafted. But at some point, these things evolve. I mean, if you made a list today just based on performance, there might be a 4th round pick who makes the top 10. Mm-hmm. But I think our listener wants to know how we saw them, if they had all been drafted at the same time, at the same age, and some kind of some sort of a time machine, Number 5, I had Jack Eichel. Love Jack Eichel. I think he's become the impact player that I thought he would become. Number 6, I love this guy at the time. I had him ranked number 1. I think he's had a very good career so far. I love him, but maybe, for 2020, I think he's the top player, but maybe I ranked him too high in terms of expectations. It's Tim Stützle. Mm-hmm. But I had him 6th in that list. Based on my evaluation when he was drafted, I had him number 1. I thought he was going to be a mega star. I think he's a star player. He's a star player, but he's not a mega star. Now, you're ready to have fun now. The next 3 guys were from the same draft.
Oh boy.
Yeah. But okay. I had Patrick Laine at 7.
Listen, you weren't the only one who had him ahead of Matthews.
I had him 1. I had him number 1. And after a couple of years, that take didn't look too bad. But over the years, it's really, really become, because he should be in his prime right now.
Right.
Yeah. Number 8, I had Austin Matthews.
Okay.
Why didn't I have him ranked higher? I knew he was a goal scorer, but I did not see him as the mega star that some other talent evaluators saw. So I had him number 2 that year. I thought he was going to be a very good player, but he scored more goals than I thought he would. But really, when you look at Matthews, let's be objective here. Whether, our listeners like the Leafs or not, do you find that Matthews has carried the Leafs on his shoulders in the last 10 years, 9 years?
No.
Yeah. So, but he scores. He scores a lot of goals. So let's not. But that's why I ranked him lower than the other guys that I mentioned, because at the time I was not like crazy about him. I thought he was very good. He was a good scorer, but I did not see a franchise player that some people saw. So in that sense, I guess I was right, but he still performed better than I thought he would. Now, number 9, the joke of the week.
Oh, boy.
Jesse Puljujarvi. And I have to tell you something. During their draft year, after the World Juniors, I had Puljujarvi at number 1.
I'm sure you're not the only one. Like, he was,
he
was insane.
Then I watched the games during the season. Yeah. I brought Puljujarvi down to number 3. But still, I thought Puljujarvi would become the Oilers at the time with the roster that had Taylor Hall, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Connor McDavid. I thought he was going to become their second best forward. I saw superstar. I saw. And why didn't I have him ahead of Matthews? Matthews was more of a known quantity because he had played in North America, and Puljujärvi towards the end of the season in Finland was not that great. But at the World Juniors, he was 17 and he was the best player.
Yeah.
He was skating like the wind. He was hitting hard. He was scoring. Then he got to the NHL. And first training camp, I knew he was only 18 years old, but first training camp, I saw him and I'm thinking, because at the time I was watching preseason games, I was curious. And I'm like, okay, he doesn't seem to adapt very well. But I'm thinking, look, he's 18 years old. He's playing with the Oilers. Send him back to wherever, American Hockey League or whatever. Then at age 19, didn't become much better. And then you could see that the whole hype was like really overblown.
Yeah.
Look, it's probably one of my biggest evaluation mistakes ever since I've been following players. I really saw a 40-goal scorer playing next to Connor McDavid. Now at number 10, I had Connor Bedard. Connor Bedard, being a centerman under 6 feet, who was not like a fantastic skater, I saw him as a good point producer, and I think he will be. But I did not see the franchise player that some people saw. We'll see what happens. It's too early to tell. And honorable mention, number 11, Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes was very small. I think he was highly skilled. I think Jack Hughes, had he been 6'2" and 180 pounds, I would probably have ranked him in the top 5. But at the time, I was concerned about his the fact that he was very small. It took a couple of years, but he's so highly skilled. He's one of the most spectacular players in the NHL.
Absolutely.
So that was my top 10. I hope this is what the listener wanted to hear.
Yeah.
And with the good, the bad, and the jokes.
That was a great question from Max.
Yeah, it was.
We encourage the viewers as well. Give us your list in the comments section. Who are the top 10 best prospects of the last 10 years? We want to see your lists in the comment section. Looking forward to that. Now, second question, because we got 2. We're not done yet. Justin again. We've got some great questions from Justin in the past. Snake, do you think the Habs have made mistakes drafting too many Europeans, Russians, and Americans with their top draft choices over the past 20 years? I ask this with the knowledge that NHL playoffs are a different game than the regular season. Harder checking, intense battles for loose pucks, more and tougher hits, less penalties called, etc. And many of the top players they draft have not grown up that style of hockey. Thank you.
At first, when I saw that question, I said, okay, I'm going to focus on the European players, Russian Europeans, because Americans, they play our style of hockey. So at first I'm thinking, okay, Justin is absolutely right. They made a mess out of these drafts, blah, blah, blah. But then you look at the players and the guys that they drafted, it's not that bad when you think about it, because most of them were taken in later rounds. And those that they took in the first couple of rounds, yes, sometimes, you hit and miss. But if you look at, let's start with 2012. Because before that, there weren't that many, 2005, 2006. I know I could mention David Fisher, the American player, but I'm really focusing on Europeans. They had Alex Galchenyuk, but Galchenyuk was playing in Canada, so let's not counting as European. Sebastian Kohlberg, second round. Yeah, that's an example. That's what Justin means. The guy was not built to play in the NHL, although he was highly skilled. I made the mistake too. I had him ranked number 10 that year. I loved him. I loved his skill set. But you know what? He wasn't made for North American hockey. In 2013, second round picks, they had Jacob Delarose, Swedish, and Arturi Lehkonen. Well, Lehkonen didn't turn out so bad. So in that, and he's a good playoff performer. So, okay, that's fine. 2014, they had Nikita Sherbak in the first round. But again, Sherbak was playing in Canada. In 2016, they had Mikhail Sergachev, but again, he was playing in Canada, and he's pretty good, so that's not a problem. Second round of 2017, they had Joni Ikonen. That was a disappointing one. He had injuries. I loved him too. I had him in the top 10. So, but yeah, that's probably a guy who was over evaluated. 2018, they had 4 in the top 2 rounds. And maybe that's what Justin refers to. They had Kotkaniemi, Jesse Ilonen, Jakub Olofsson, and Alex Romanov. Really, the only one who turned out fine is Romanov.
Yeah.
The other 3, I mean, was really a waste of draft picks. In the third round in 2019, they had Matthias Norlinder, but, you know, a third-round pick, you're just throwing darts. But again, that was a guy who was not made for North America. 2020, Jan Mysak, second round, but he was playing in Canada. 2021, they had Kapanen. Kapanen's here. 2022, you know, Engstrom, Slavkovsky, Philip Michar. Vincent Rohrer was playing in Canada. And then, you know, Demidov, Zarovsky, that's more recent. Atos Koivu. I don't like Atos Koivu as a player. So I think it's a mixed bag. I don't think it's as bad as maybe Justin thinks it is. But it's my take on it is that it's a mixed bag, and it would be a mixed bag with Canadian players too.
Yeah. The draft is a crapshoot. We say it every year. It's the hardest thing to do is to project 18-year-olds, you know, who are underdeveloped and who are still developing, right? Physically, mentally, skill-wise, it's incredibly hard to do, and especially when they play a different style of hockey. Sometimes it hits, you know, Arturi Lehkonen scored the Stanley Cup winning goal. You know what I mean? So it's really hard, but yeah.
And the goal that took the Habs to the Stanley Cup finals.
That is my...
So look, I always say it's much easier to talk about last night's game than trying to project junior players 10 years down the road. But you know what? It's more fun.
It is more fun. And we hope you're having fun watching this show, folks. As always, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the hype button as well. It does actually help, and we appreciate everyone who does. And send in your questions. We dig in the mailbag every show. Hopefully we get to one of your questions soon. Snake, anything to add before we wrap up?
Let's wrap it up.
I actually have a question for you, though.
Go ahead.
Have you selected your Halloween costume yet?
I don't know. I just got a great San Jose Barracuda jersey. Fresh, their beautiful third jersey. Maybe I could, disguise for my disguise could be a San Jose Barracuda player.
Well,
because there are kids who come for candies at my place, and they often wear a hockey helmet and a jersey, and they say, "Oh, I'm a hockey player. This is my costume," because I told them that's not very original. Well, I'm a hockey player.
Thursday, October 30th, we're doing a show, and I think we got to come dressed up, and I already have mine, and I'll give a little preview. I will be dressed up as Jakub Dolbesch. A brick wall, baby. With that being said, Sammy and Yellow back at Master Control. Thank you as always. I'm producer Shayne. That's Simon, the Snake Boisvert. We will see you on Monday. Take care, everyone.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, Trust the Process on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.